Believe it or not, today marks the 25th anniversary of beloved millennial TV series Kenan and Kel, which premiered on Nickelodeon August 17th, 1996. The show is currently featured in our 90s Stuff collection, alongside fellow Nickelodeon favorites Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy, which just celebrated their 30th anniversaries just last week. If you haven't seen it, the 90s Stuff collection was personally curated by me and features the best in TV, movies, music, sitcom theme songs, and commercials from 30 years ago. But these Nickelodeon anniversaries had Scott, Quam, and I thinking about some of our favorite Nickelodeon series from the past and wondering, do they still hold up? So I'm actually going to get this started with one of my favorite Nickelodeon series from the 90s, and that was Salute Your Shorts. And as luck would have it, there are 10 episodes available to watch right now on X1 and Flex with Paramount Plus. If you're not familiar with the show, it follows the misadventures of teenagers at a summer camp called Camp Anawana. They live, they laugh, and they love to torture head counselor Kevin Ugg Lee. Ugg Lee, that's the joke. We were all kids. It was hilarious. I recently gave a rewatch to one of my favorite episodes entitled Cheeseburgers in Paradise, in which all the campers are unhappy with the food at Anawana, and Donkey Lips and Sponge join the wrestling team to try and win a lobster dinner, while Budnick cooks up a scheme to order burgers for the entire camp. Of course, Ugg tries to foil the plot. I was so surprised by how much of this episode I actually remembered, like point for point. I remembered things that happened and lines of dialogue. And compared to Hey Dude, which I don't think holds up, honestly, I was kind of bored rewatching episodes of Hey Dude. I think Salute Your Shorts was an absolute joy. And yes, it absolutely does hold up. So, Quam, I know... Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. I was going to say, I totally agree with you on this one. I had a very similar moment recently where I came back to the show and started rewatching it from the beginning. Loved watching it. Actually, I think it was 2 or 3 episodes in. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the one where they were telling a campfire story about the old janitor or something with the plunger.
Zeke the plumber.
Creepy. Yeah, that was so. It was actually kind of scary. Like I could see myself being scared of that as a child, and I'm like, well done, Salute Your Shorts, for defying your genre as like a little sitcom, and going into a little touch of horror because everybody needs that in their life.
That was an awesome episode. Something I always remember from that episode is that they spread bags of potato chips around to alert them to someone coming in the woods crunching on the chips. And those are just like weird things that just stick with me all these years. And the funny thing about Salute Your Shorts is, and I should have looked this up before the show started, I think there were only like a couple dozen, like maybe 30 so episodes produced of that show. But it felt like there were hundreds of them because they aired them constantly on Nickelodeon back in the day. So you never really got the sense that it ever ended. It just aired continuously all the time.
I feel like that was a lot of my children, like my TV growing up as a child. It just felt like because it was always in syndication, like you just kind of felt like the show was never like, there was never like a season. I never watched it like straight through. It was always just random episodes here and there that I picked up, and it's great. It's wonderful.
There were only 26 episodes of Salute Your Shorts. Can you believe it? 26. I thought it was like 10 seasons long, running from 92 to like 2000. Unreal. Quam, you were just maybe not even born when Salute Your Shorts started, but I know you have some 90s Nickelodeon favorites. What was your favorite show?
So I have not heard about Salute Your Shorts because I think it's, like you said, it's very low key. It's definitely before my time, but a show I think everyone is familiar with is The Amanda Show. Ba-ba-da-bum. The Amanda Show is such an iconic show. It has so many great moments that people still reference today, like the girls' room or Bring in the Dancing Lobsters or her parody of Judge Judy. It is such an iconic 90s show that was just a big moment for my generation and just big moment for, I think, TV in general, and really, just propelled Amanda Bynes into like instant stardom. So the Amanda Show, I think it definitely holds up because for all the reasons I listed, it's still iconic to this day. And yeah, who doesn't love dancing lobsters? Let's be honest.
Well, I personally am allergic to shellfish, so not a fan of the dancing lobster.
The dancing lobsters would kill Scott. Trying to kill Scott with his lobsters?
Come on.
I
apologize, Scott.
I've never seen an episode of The Amanda Show, and sorry, I didn't expect that.
How? It's such an iconic show, David.
I had outgrown it. I had outgrown Nickelodeon a little bit by the time The Amanda Show came around. Although I have learned about the dancing lobsters because they have been like all over Instagram and Twitter. It's a big thing. But like you were saying those other quotes, and I'm like, I have no idea what those are. I've never heard of them.
Oh my god!
But it is a testament to like obviously how many generations Nickelodeon spans, and everyone has this like iconic show from their time period. This just isn't one of mine, but I know Scott has one.
I 100% do. I think it's really interesting that you both chose live action and I sort of went the route of animation. So like, I mean, to your point, Nickelodeon was kind of like this experimental, like weird network that was still trying to find its footing. I think especially in the 90s when it really kind of hit its stride. And especially I think for me, with all of these like weird, surreal, kind of risque masterpieces like Ren and Stimpy, and my pick, which is Rocko's Modern Life, which honestly, the most amazing show ever. All sorts of innuendo, a theme song by the B-52s, Australian accents. Like, could you think of anything more dangerous for your kids to be watching? Like, for those reasons alone. I mean, and like, does it hold up? 100%. Absolutely, yes, it does. I mean, so much so that Netflix, like, just basically made a movie about Rocko, or made a new Rocko movie a few years ago. So yes, absolutely. Rocko was pushing all of the buttons back then and continues to push the buttons. And I just love this show so much. And I just was watching it the other day and it's amazing. The big heads and Heifer, and it's just good. Just so good. Did you guys watch?
Rocko's Modern Life. I can only hear it in that dude's voice.
Exactly. He's like the best.
Rocko was one of those shows that I've like vaguely remember because it was always on, but I was never watching. You know, it's one of those shows I would watch to go to sleep, unfortunately. But I know it's iconic. Yeah. Everyone still reference it.
So, David, it's funny that you said you can only hear the theme song in his voice because the first season, it was actually not done by the B-52s. And I realized that the other day when I was like watching it, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like the B-52s, but it actually was a completely different like theme song, slightly like very similar, but slightly different. It wasn't until I think season 2 that the B-52s came in and really amped it up, you know?
Yeah, I think like Rocko was one of those, was like part of like the second wave of Nicktoons, whereas like the first wave was kind of Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. And Doug is one that I really remember fondly. And it's part of the reason now that I want to take road trips so badly, because one of my favorite episodes of Doug is when the whole family takes a road trip to go see the Painted Gorge, which is basically the Grand Canyon. But Doug and Judy keep making them stop to see all these dumb roadside attractions. Like Judy wants to stop to see Blythe Field, which is where her favorite poet composed like her favorite poem. Doug kept having all these visions of all these amazing roadside attractions being grander than they actually were. So he wanted to stop at the Bug Ranch because he imagined himself riding a big beetle through a field, but it was just like a terrarium full of bugs. And then there was one where it was like, stop and see it. You won't believe it. And he imagined going into a cave and there was this giant monster there, but it just ended up being like a little potato in a jar. And yeah, that's why like now I just want to go and see all the weird roadside attractions all along Route 66 or something like that because of Doug.
I love that Doug was the Nicktoon that made you want to travel and not like, you know, the wild thornberries or any of the more obvious choices, you know, like
it wasn't, I didn't get into, no, those were like past my time, like Rocket Power, Cat Dog, Rocko. I was not into the tunes by then. I had moved on to wrestling.
Oh, David.
Sorry. All right. Well, you can check out these shows and more of your 90s favorites by saying 90s stuff into your voice remote. And if you have Paramount Plus, there are so many good shows right now in terms of Nickelodeon classics. There's Hey Dude, there's Guts, there's Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple, all the Nicktoons, Ren and Stimpy. So have a good nostalgic throwback moment and pretend that it's Snick all over again. Snick was a thing, Quam, back in the day. Do you remember Snick?
I don't. I'm glad you explained it to me though, because I was like, Snick? Is this something?
Snick is Saturday Night Nickelodeon. Yeah. Original Snick was Clarissa Explains It All. Clarissa Explains It All, Ren and Stimpy, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Roundhouse was the first show that ended up getting canceled off of Snick. And it was way too mature for kids. I have no idea how. But like you said, Scott, they were just trying to like figure out who they were still then.
Exactly.
So like,
well, aren't we all?
It was weird.
Aren't we all?
It's true. It's true.